What up?
Peace, peace. How you feeling?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm blessed. No complaints. I can't complain. How you feeling? Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining me. This is my 40th episode.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. I've had a host of really amazing artists. Some I've worked with, some I've always admired, and all of the conversations have been extremely insightful for me and for everybody who's been watching. So I have my set of questions, and my whole thing is just
Okay.
the creative to creative conversation is a little bit more different. It's more intimate,
Yeah.
so I'm excited to get started with you. I wanted to first talk about DC,
hmm
Baltimore, or
hmm
how Baltimore,
You know
Baltimore,
what? You ain't gotta do that. You don't got. Folks always want to do that.
and and Philly. I know Philly has played a role in
hmm
your development as well. I've
Yeah.
never been to Baltimore before in my life, much less West Baltimore. So I wanted to ask you for those who haven't been, because a lot of times people are tuning in from out of state or out of the country.
Okay.
How would you describe those three cities? If you had to kind of just give us a brief
Hmm.
crash course on each one of those.
Be more is. Let me think. It's a lot of great musicians in Baltimore. I, I feel like a lot of what characterizes Baltimore is how hard we were hit with the heroin epidemic. Um, but I also feel like Baltimore is really full of a lot of resilience. I feel like there's special people that come from there because if you can survive it, you are a special type of person. um, And I remember, like, DC and Baltimore used to have a beef back in the day. So when I first moved to DC, I had to because we listen to club music. We like club music. It's real fast, right? If it's your birthday, make some noise. You know what I mean? Like that's just. And so when I got to DC, they was clowning us for being so hype. And we used to joke that they were so slow with the boom, 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 right, all the go-go. And it wasn't until I stayed in DC for some years that I really started to understand go-go and really appreciate a lot of the rhythms, understanding this connection back to Africa. Um, what I liked about DC is that there were a lot of upperly mobile Black business owners, a lot of really thought-provoking, just really progressive Black people that had power like I didn't see it coming from Baltimore. I didn't see that kind of power in Black people's hands or Native people because, I grew up going to the Native American, the Indian Center in Baltimore because my mom is Choctaw. And it was never that kind of power. So it was really kind of enthralling seeing that Black people and brown people had that much power in DC, and equity and land and homes and different things like that. And then when I moved to Philly, Philly was a different beast because it's closer to New York, right? So you got a little bit more like that fast pace. But the hood is very familiar to Baltimore. that hood thing is quite familiar. It's a different type of griminess. But I also think it produces people that really are strong, really resilient survivors. I think some of the best music comes out of the worst circumstances. And when I went to high school, I went to art school in DC. And the kids who produced the best music and the best art and then they was the ones always getting kicked out of school. They was fighting, maybe they was selling weed, like they was always doing something crazy because they came from, I don't even want to say crazy, but they were a product of their environments and a reflection of what the home life was like and the neighborhood was like. Like I lived in a neighborhood called Dodge City, because you had to dodge bullets to get
Wow.
around. But it was like it added texture and flavor some kind of way. And the music that came out of it was always so much better, like miles better from the bands that, were in affluent neighborhoods. They couldn't swing, they couldn't play, they ain't have enough hardship in their life. And so I do, and I played in another band in Baltimore, Dunbar Jazz Band, and the same thing, like over on the east side in a really rough neighborhood. And some of the best musicians I ever met in my life, 14, 15, 16, killing grown, like adult bands, going to battle, adult jazz bands. The band director was, he used to play with Count Basie. His
Okay.
name was Charles Fun, and he was, man, he did not play with us. And I'm sure some of his practices was not ethical. And today they wouldn't even allow him to say and do some of the stuff, but he got us together. He really helped us to appreciate Black music and take it serious and play like our lives depended on it, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah. I read that you were homeschooled for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and that your parents not only were artists but Pan-Africanists
Yeah.
as well. I wanted to ask you about were you receptive to what was being taught to you at an early age during those homeschool years? Did you understand that it was information that would prove to be, I guess, invaluable for identity of self and those types of things?
I don't think I really appreciate. I can't say I appreciate it. It was all that I knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got out in the world and realized that that wasn't normal. That most people did not have knowledge of self, and because of that, they was lost. And it was reflective in everything they did and said, how they moved, the things that they were willing to compromise, and the things I wasn't willing to compromise. I realized, like, oh wow, that's my teaching that has given me that type of foundation. I don't think I appreciated when I was younger. I just didn't know another way of life. I thought everybody lived like the way we live. I was homeschooled until 10th grade, and I even when the couple of years I wasn't homeschooled, I was in a Muslim school. There was only like 20 people in the school, so it was basically like being homeschooled too. Um, but I would go to lectures with great Black philosophers, and I had no idea, like, Ivan Van Sertima, Jewel Pookrum, and Francis Cress Welsing. I didn't know that, and Anthony Browder. I didn't know, like, they were, how important they were to the culture, because I would see them all the time. And Dick Gregory, like, I didn't know Dick Gregory was a famous comedian and activist, because I just knew he was a Baba in the community, who he and my mom, they would be at, he would be speaking, my mom would be singing, and we just was all there together. I didn't realize, who these people were. They were legends, they were just giants in our community, and especially what they did for us, the way they dissected our history, our present, and our future for us to absorb and to regain knowledge of self. It wasn't until much later that I realized what my parents, the foundation that they had really set for me, and that I would go into a world where I would be misunderstood, and there wouldn't be many like me, and I would need something strong enough to hold on to not lose my way, because everything in my environment would tell me that I was wrong to love myself, and to love my heritage and my culture, and to be dignified and to have integrity. They would tell me that stuff was wrong, So
Well, I've had the pleasure of interviewing and knowing quite a few creatives that have gone to the Duke Ellington School of the Arts. A lot of really just amazing people,
yeah.
Yazara and Kevin
Oh
Ross,
yeah, I love them.
so I'm not surprised at all. But I was like, dang, when I do my research for people, as it relates to people that I'm talking to, I'm always seeing these connections and that type of thing. But I wanted to ask you, given your schooling prior to, what
Yeah.
was the experience like for you there?
At Ellington.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was definitely different. Like when I talked to Yazara, and I have a lot of friends who graduated. My experience was different because I'd never been to public school. Like I could ask my mom that. My language arts class could be studying the Wu-Tang Clan's lyrics and writing them down. I could study Lauryn Hill's lyrics or Bob Marley's lyrics and analyze what I thought they meant. And if there were words I didn't understand, I'll look them up in the dictionary, write them 3 times, and build sentences, make sentences out of them. And it was just very free. Or I could go into my grandmother's garden and I could plant with her. Or I could go do bead work, and that's still school. And I could go, tend to the fire to build a sweat lodge, and that's still school. Like all of that was school. So I was not used to the rigidity of you know, you do what we say do. When we say do it, these are the things you have to, you know, it's just, it was, that part was difficult for me. Um, because education was so fluid to me. It was, and we could have a conversation and branch off and go to all these different places and then come back later on. And it wasn't like that. You had a time slot and you really had to stay focused on whatever they told you to think about. You weren't really able to venture off in thought. And it's not characteristic to Duke. That's how all schools are. And that was a struggle for me. I was not used to. I think I felt boxed in.
Yeah.
And even creatively, like I wanted to be able to write my own songs. I didn't want to sing songs written by other people. You know, I didn't want to sing the arias and whatever the songs they had in the show tune book and the classical book. I was like, all right, I'll do one or two of these, but I have some creative thoughts that I want to share. And it don't work like that. You know, you got to work your way up and you got to do things their way for a long time before. And that's the way most bureaucratic systems work when you come in a system. And I was not trained. I was not trained for the system. I was, you know, I was just so confused. Like, why do you guys do things this way? This is so counterintuitive. I was talking to one of my teachers there. She's actually like dean of students. I went back there recently and she was just laughing. She said, man, she just remembers me. She said, I felt sorry for you because you were so different. And I knew it would be hard for you to really adjust to what everyone else had learned to what they had gotten in line by the time they was 5 years old already. And I was like this weed, you know, this wildflower, like just used to doing things my way. However, I felt inspired to do things. So, yeah.
Do you think, as it relates to education, especially right now, a lot of kids are being homeschooled and everything like that? How do you, how do you feel about education in a system versus education, you know, that's more liberal and more just all inclusive of
Oh
everything?
yeah, I homeschooled my son. He only went to school 1 year. His first time going to school was last year at DC, and then he ended up back in homeschool anyway. I am a complete supporter of homeschool. I know not all parents, you know, can do that, but for me, it was a necessity. I don't look at homeschooling as a luxury. I never have. It's a necessity because I want my son's mind to be free. I want him to be an analytical thinker. I don't want him to just give what he's taken and accept it as truth just because an adult told you it was, you know. Or and not only that, adults can limit your dreams because they've already been broken. So they can't teach you to be freer than they've already allowed themselves to be, you know. And when children are born, they're limitless. Adults put limitations on them and teach them how to get in line, fall in place. And they teach them how to dream small. They really do. And it's almost like they kind of can't not do that because that's what they've already accepted as their own truth. So, you know, they'd be going against their own reality to try and tell them something else, you know. And not only that, children, they do as you do, not as you say anyways. They always see between the lines, right? Um, I think that this is an amazing opportunity for one, for parents to get to know their children. Most parents don't know their kids.
Right.
You don't spend enough time with them. You know, you don't know the nuance of their personality, especially because it changes so much. You know, every 6 months you got a new person in there because they're absorbing stuff from the world. They're trying on new, you know, personalities, seeing what fits, you know. And I just think it's a wonderful opportunity to know what your kids are learning. Most people don't know what their kids are learning. You know, I love being able to read through my son's book and say, oh no, you see how this was written? This is not objective. This is not objective. Okay, you can see what their opinion is, and their opinion is biased and is racist. So we're going to write into the teacher. We're not doing this, honey. What we're going to do is, you know, I love being able to be a part of that process to teach him how to read between the lines. Don't just, you know, take what you're given, but know that you have a right to audit what you're being fed. You know what I mean? The same way you get to choose what foods you eat, you should get to choose what information you absorb in what way, you know? So I'm glad people are homeschooling.
I I wanted you to break down, I guess, James Poyser
Mm-hmm.
and how he played a role in your career or your beginnings?
Yeah, he's the first person that ever taught me how to record in the studio. Like I didn't know how to really stack vocals. I had recorded an album before, but you know, we all just kind of got in one room with the headphone bleed and everything, and we just, you know, we had like $500 maybe. We rehearsed real good. We're gonna record this whole album with $500. Don't nobody mess up. One time straight through. We might have did it 3 times straight through, but that's how it was, you know.
Yeah.
And so he really taught me how to isolate tracks and stack my vocals properly, phrasing, so much. I was so nervous the first time we were in the studio together. I was supposed to do something for CL Smooth. And I was so scared. I just couldn't even record. I just sat in the booth and cried. I wasn't used to recording in the studio. I was only used to recording on stage. I mean, performing on stage. And on stage, I feel free because whatever happens, it's gone now. It's in the wind.
Yeah.
I don't get to sit back and critique it and criticize it. And because, you know, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, that's hard for me. And I wasn't used to hearing myself recorded. And so he really helped me with just getting comfortable with my own voice, like how it sounds outside my head and how to manipulate my voice to get it to sound different ways. And just, you know, create a vibe. I mean, I sought him out because he had worked with Lauryn Hill and with Erykah Badu. When I came to meet him, he was working on Mama's Gun. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. This is who I need to work with. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Mama's Gun, or maybe it was New America Part 1. But it was one of those around that time period. And I just knew he had worked with all the greats. And I was like, I need somebody I want to have my gift honed, because I started recording music and no one taught me what to do, right? They didn't teach me like, all right, this is how you build a career. There was no one, my mother taught me how to perform, you know, how to sing, but nobody showed me how to like build a career, right? If you didn't just go get a record deal or something like that. And I didn't know anybody who had done what I wanted to do, what I envisioned doing in my mind. So I just said, I need to seek out mentors. I need to seek out help, some people who will teach me how to become who I want to become, and just put me in the right rooms, you know, and I'm a sponge. I'm gonna soak it up and I'm gonna grow. You know, I might not get it right first couple times. I'm gonna figure it out. And he connected me with the Roots, and that's how I ended up recording the song "Don't Feel Right." And he set up, you know, he organized for me to go on tour with the Roots, and you know, we got Grammy nominated, and that was that. You know, that created a standard for me. I could never go back after that.
Right.
You know, I could never go back. So now when I'm doing my own shows, I need things a certain way. I need to sound a certain way. I need the band. There's a standard now, you know, even in terms of how, now I couldn't tour the way they toured at the time with the bus and this and that. But I was like, all right, we ain't gonna be far from it. It had like, that's the standard. We can't go too far, you know. And yeah, it helped me prepare myself for excellence. You know, I was focused in that direction of excellence because the people I had worked with were excellent. You know, James Boyce is excellent, you know.
Yeah. I you somewhat answered my next question. I was going to ask you about you know, things that knowledge you may have gained from your time with the Roots. I know you Grammy nominated with them, as well as your time with Zap Mama or Common. You know, the bar is extremely high.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about from creating the Blooming through to Vintage Babies.
You better know my whole life.
Through Vintage Babies and all points in between, what would you say the enduring message, your enduring message is?
Well, I think it's always been about liberation. But the very first album I ever did was called Subversive Activity. It was with my group Serious B. And that record, I definitely focused more on like freedom, revolution, politics, those sort of things. And I think at that time, because I was politicized that way, but I realized that the revolution outside don't work if the revolution inside ain't working. And I had a child very young, and so I was kind of thrown into relationships and what happens when they don't work. And, you know, when you pick a mate, you don't think through you don't think through, how are you going to raise a child together? What are your value systems? What God do you serve? Where does your integrity lie? You know, where are your breaking points? Who are you when you're angry? What are you willing to do and not do? And I don't think I knew myself well enough then. And kind of being forced into womanhood and into motherhood, it changed everything. And I think around the same time too, my father went to prison. You know, one of my brothers died. Two of my other little brothers went to prison, and everything just like, it started changing real fast, you know. And I just was wondering, like, why is this not working? Why is everything we've been taught? How come it can't save us? How come we are still falling victim to the system? How come our relationships, how come we can't love each other? Why don't we know how to love each other? Why can't we love ourselves enough? Why can't we, you know? And it was just baffling to me, like, what is enough? What amount of sacrifice is enough? And so I really started becoming a lot more introspective. And then the message behind my music started really shifting. And it really became about personal development and growth. And about, you know, I would study all of the revolutionary movements, the Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, the Black Liberation Army, the American Indian Movement, you know, all these different organizations. And, you know, and I look at the offspring of these movements, you know, their children and their grandchildren. And I'm like, where did we go wrong? How come it didn't work? How come it didn't last? Well, we know COINTELPRO is the reason why they didn't work.
Right.
But also on a personal level, like, it takes a lot to withstand what you have to endure being here in America, you know, as a awakened person of color, right? Because they're two different things now.
Yeah.
And I said, man, the inner strength you need to build in order to fight this war outside, that's what needs to, that's what we're lacking. We haven't built the core strong enough yet to be able to, so that you can't turn us on each other. You shouldn't be able to turn us on each other, because the inner core is so strong. Your connection with God is so strong. Your sense of not just knowledge of self, knowing your history, but knowing who your soul is, understanding your soul, having your intuition be strong, being able to have the power of discernment. So that shifted my whole consciousness. It was still about liberation, but the liberation had to start inside, because the one outside wouldn't work if the one inside wasn't working. And that's the real work. That's the lifetime work.
Yeah.
But the peace that it gives you allows for things to be a lot easier. I ain't got to push it, because when I'm in alignment, it's working for me. I got all of my guides, everybody else I got in the spirit realm, they working with me, because I'm in a line. I fit into my slot, and everything click, 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 click started lining up. Now I ain't got to work so hard. I ain't got to fight so hard, because I'm in alignment right now. I'm not pushing against what my ancestors want me to do, you know, where that is what I was doing before, because I just didn't know, you know. So that's how the message changed. It really just became about personal development. People think that that's not activism, and to me, that's the only that's the first point of activism. That's why I think homeschool is activism, because what's the point of you making all these moves out in the world and your children aren't a part of that? They don't know what you're doing. They're not learning from you, because you're not there. You're out in the world fighting the fight out there. Where are your kids at? Who was influencing them the most? You know what I'm saying? Like, where they, what vices are they developing? Where they at with their ego and their illusion? Because if you can't deal with that illusion, it ain't gonna work. You can't pass it down to them. You a general of what? Where's your empire? You cannot pass it down to children who don't understand the struggle, and they don't understand the purpose, and they're not in alignment. Who are you passing this legacy on to? They're your generals. They the first ones. So ain't no point in saving everybody out here if you can't save your children. You can't save your family.
Wow. I wanted to read a quote from one of your records.
Okay. Hey, which one is this?
Work in Progress.
Okay.
And it says, moving up ain't always moving right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, well, just for everybody out there who may not be aware, Kanye started a series of tweets last week in which he was talking about the unfairness in the music industry, as far as
Right.
contracts are concerned. Fast forward, he was responded to by Hit Boy, who spoke about the irony that he would be, speaking about the labels in the context that he was also limited, but limited by Kanye.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that lyric really struck me because in this system, and there was a Billboard article that was published last week anonymously about the charge to Black executives
Yeah.
for making the community better, while also asking for whatever other surface area they want or whatever other privilege. I want to get your interpretation of
Yeah.
moving up ain't always moving right as it relates
Yeah.
to, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, I love what you're saying about that. I think Mace had the same response to Puffy when Puffy mentioned this, about owning our masters, and he said, "Hey, you're not letting me out of a contract that I had, a while ago." And this is why, man, this is an interesting conversation because diversity. Everyone's talking about diversity and inclusion, and it's important. But without consciousness, it won't be enough because what you have is overseers. People of color will become overseers if the structure, the system, the blueprint is still the same, right? Then you just become overseers to a system that's abusive, and won't matter that you're Black or that you're, his Latinx or Indian. It won't matter because I've seen women uphold patriarchy all the time. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen Black people uphold white supremacy. I've seen it. They do it all the time because people are fighting for their spot. And what you're told, the same thing I was told many, many times is, well, everybody got to get raped. It's just, about how much Vaseline you can negotiate. And for me, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough. It's not good enough for me, and it's not good enough for the person coming after me. So I don't want you to do it to me, and I'm not going to do it to someone else. And a lot of what I do with mentorship has to do with me trying to create an environment for the next generation that I wasn't gifted. I wasn't. And it's not like, I worked with a lot of people that are good people, but they didn't have any choice but to uphold the structure and uphold the system because they didn't have no power. It looked like they had power on the outside, but they didn't have no power. So they couldn't give me nothing better than what they were getting. You know what I mean? I have lots of friends who be like, Moo, I want to put you on, but they can't put me on to nothing more than a 360 deal. And that's not good enough for me. Because my intellectual property ain't for sale, not like that. You're not going to take more than your share like that. When I know I'm a hard worker and I'm going to do all of the work, why would you put me into a sharecropping contract? No more than you don't want to be in a sharecropping contract, right? But you'll do that to me because that's all the crumbs that they've given you to offer me. And I say, where do we stop? Where do we stop begging them for taking their crumbs, period, and build your own infrastructure? But people don't want to do that because they need to feel accepted and validated. And when you build your own, it's slow at first. It don't have the glitz and the glam at first. It don't look like you on. Your ego can't be fed at first. And people are not willing to do what it takes because they're insecure, because you've come up impoverished. You don't have enough wealth in your spirit to be able to do it. You need somebody else to feed you constantly. So moving up ain't always moving right. There will be a lot of times you'll be offered opportunity, but every opportunity ain't opportune.
Yeah.
You'll be offered things that you'll have to sell a part of yourself, or you'll give more than you owe. You'll give more intellectual property than you should when you're going to do all the work. You'll make somebody else's family wealthy for generations while you're barely paying your rent. But it looks good though. But you get to lease that car, you get to loan another $1 million and stay in debt a little longer because it looks good, and you'll get to go pose with these people, and you'll get to go to that party. You know what I mean? But you'll be amazed at the amount of people, what they finances really look like, and what they don't have to pass down to their children. You passing down debt? What are we passing down? It is a sharecropping system. It's been that way since the music business started in the early 20s. Most of the early blues singers on Chess Records, they couldn't even read, but they signed the contract. How are you signing a 10-page contract? You can't read. They didn't care that they couldn't read. And that's the blueprint. So now when you're sitting in these meetings and you like, this doesn't look fair, you know, they'll say, well, it's standard. But
Yeah.
who set the standards? Sharecroppers from the 1920s, huh? Who hated your ancestors set the standards. Though, and when you know, Ray Charles was one of the first people that black people that I'm sure asked for their masters. It was like absurd. How you're insane to ask for your masters. No, you're insane to think that you own them.
Mm.
Off break, right? But when it's standard, they think that means that it's right, and they'll tell other artists, no, this is standard. No, go ahead and sign that. This is standard. And so many artists don't read their contracts because they don't know how to read it. They don't understand legal language. I do a whole course on this with my lawyer, teaching people how to understand contract language. You know, because if you can't afford a lawyer, you at least need to educate yourself to know what you are agreeing to for how long, you know, because it's not just about you. Everything that you're doing should be for the next several generations. I always tell my son, I said, babe, when you grow up, and you know, you meet a woman, I need you to be careful about who you're choosing to bring life into the world with, because this is my blood in your body. You okay? Take care of my blood well, because everything I'm working for will be passed down to that child, and I need my lineage and my empire secured and taken care of. Don't choose nobody that can't raise a king or queen. Don't do that. Okay? Don't put my investment in the hands of someone who's not qualified, okay, to take care of this rich soil I'm giving you.
Facts.
That's what I tell him.
Facts. Oh man. Okay, well, let me tag on to that. I know that you've been a musical ambassador for the US.
Yeah.
I know that you've
You
also
better
been
do your homework. I love it when everybody do their homework.
I also know that you have been a governor for the Recording Academy
Yeah.
DC chapter. When did you decide that those were things that were important to you in order to kind of help change the narrative, or at least help represent the community? You know what I mean?
I've always been interested. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd at heart. Right, I can rap real cool, but I'm a nerd. I was always a part of student government body in high school. I was on the honor society. Like I'm a nerd. I've always been interested in. I told my mother that. I said, Mom, I might run for office in like 10 years. She's like, what? I was like, don't worry about it. I'll tell you about it later. She was just waking up. But yeah, I've always been interested in systems, how systems work, how they change, you know, because if you're going to be involved in it, why not be involved at the top of it? Why only be at the bottom of it? You know, so when I joined the Recording Academy, I really just wanted to understand how it worked, because I'd already been nominated for a Grammy. I had gone, to the Grammys and all this stuff, and I didn't know how it worked, and I didn't know a lot of people who did know how it worked. Right? We were the products, but we weren't the producers. Well, we are the producers, but we're not a part of the system that makes it all come together. But we'll complain if we don't win, or, feel cheated. And I don't know. And it's granted, there are a lot of changes that are being made to the Recording Academy to make it more equitable right now. But I was like, man, we care about the Grammy so much, but we're not a part of it. And I was just watching this documentary, Social Dilemma. He said, and it's similar, it's not exactly the same, but he said, if you can't figure out what's for sale, it's probably you, right? So he was talking about using the service, using Facebook, Instagram. He said it's not for free. There's something is for sale, and it's you, right? And so if we on the dinner table, why not go in the kitchen and figure out who cooking in here? How's this working? You know what I mean? And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to join the academy, figure out the intricacies of how it worked. I've been on the governing board. Now I'm a part of the social impact committee. There's never even been a social impact committee, but the way the power of the people on the ground level is forcing every corporation in the United States to get down and lay down. Every corporation is the lines are being drawn in the sand. Which side you stand on? No more fence straddling. Where do you stand in regards to race, in regards to gender, and in regards to equality? You know what I mean? To marginalized groups, where do you stand on it? And so I'm a person, I like being involved. When I was a musical ambassador, we went throughout Central America dealing with gender-based violence. You know, women were being dumped in rivers and mass graves and ditches. You know, and you know, I remember my son saying, "So, mommy, if women are being killed, maybe you shouldn't go." I said, "Well, baby, I have to. If not me, then who?" You know, and God is going to protect me. I'm gonna come back home, but I need to spread this good word. I don't even know why else I would be alive if it wasn't for this, because God done put this conviction in my heart so strong. I can't do nothing else.
Yeah.
You know, I can't just get along and just make a check. It won't let me alone. It won't leave me alone. It wake me up in the middle of the night trying to figure out how to make the world better than I found it. I can't. It harasses me. So that's all I can do.
Wow. I when it comes to music, uh do you take the same approach for singing something versus, you know,
Rapping?
delivering something, yeah, versus rapping?
No. And, you know, I think rap music has always been a more aggressive sport. I feel like it allows the part of my personality that is rough around the edges and is more aggressive or more like braggadocious. I'm not really like a braggadocious type of person, but when I want to do a song that feels like that's I can express it more because that rap is a braggadocious art form, you know, and it's a competitive sport. So it has that part in it. It's rare you'll hear me brag when I'm singing. Um, and definitely like political songs. You can just get more information in a shorter period of time. So I utilize hip hop for that. And you know, singing will be like my softer style when I want to sing a love song. If I'm a Pisces, so I'm mad sensitive. You know, all I do is feel things all day long. Huh, 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 huh. You say something? You feel? Is that a feeling? Is a feeling in the air? I can feel it in the air. That's all I do. And so, uh, when I'm singing, I can really express all of those different emotions, and I'm heightened. I have like a heightened sensitivity to things, and so when I sing, I'm able to like it calms me and eases me, and allows me to like tap into some of those higher frequencies. Um, it lifts me up like on breath, like on air, you know, and I can tap into some of those other emotions, moods, colors, experiences that maybe I can't reach with rap. Rap is a little heavier, you know.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Shout out to the Pisces that are watching. I'm a Libra. My birthday's Friday, so I'm
Oh, beautiful. Happy
yeah,
birthday.
thank you, thank you.
You guys are water sign? No, you water? No, you air. No. Okay. Okay.
I need to know more. Somebody educate me out there. Am I air sign, water sign? I don't know.
Libra. I think
Uh,
Black Thought is a Libra.
oh wow.
Yeah, I think he's a Libra.
Okay, air. I guess is what
He
people
says
are.
air.
Yeah.
Do you feel
Um,
airy?
yeah. I'm flowing away right now.
Okay.
That's my. um, I wanted to ask you. You've collaborated with a lot of really, really talented, impeccably talented individuals. I was listening to Emojis earlier, and have been for the last week or so. Shout out to one of my favorite producers of all time,
Yeah,
Mr. Salam Remy.
he's
Um,
incredible.
like one of the GOAT producers, like
Yeah, for
easily.
sure.
How did that collaboration come about? Had you already collaborated with him before? And
No, I didn't know him yet. Actually, Dapper Dan's son reached out to me, and he was like, "Man, you would sound amazing working with Salam Remy." You know, and I mean, I knew Black Thought had worked on this project with him, which I loved. And I sent Salam a message like, "You don't know me, but I love your work, and I love what you did with Black Thought, and you know, I hope we work together one day." He's like, "Who knows? What, you know, one can never tell." Maybe, whichever way the wind blows, maybe we will end up working together. And I don't know. And then maybe like 6 months later, Dapper Dan's son was like, "Man, you know who I hear you working with? I hear you working with Salam Remy." And then he connected us, and you know, we just scheduled some time. I flew out to Miami, and we just recorded like 4 songs. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. He's a great mentor, a great coach, and he really helped me approach. He helped me approach the music in a different way than I would have done on my own. And I mean, and I love being produced by a good producer. It's nothing better because I
Right.
record by myself all the time. I finished engineering school, so I record myself at home. About that, how do I? Okay, but when you're produced by a really good producer, it's just a different experience. It's like it's so wonderful. It's like you don't have to single parent no more. It's like getting married and you ain't got a single parent no more. You be like, ooh, parenting is so much better with two people. Yeah, it's dope. It's super dope. So, shout out to Salam Remy.
Yeah. What I know your origin is in the performance element of it, and I know you feel comfortable in that
Yeah.
arena. I've seen clips of you performing on Black Girls Rock. I've also seen your Tiny Desk performances both with August Green and on your own. Is there
Mm-hmm.
a different approach that you would take to a Black Girls Rock type of performance versus an NPR
Oh,
Tiny Desk?
yeah.
What would that be then?
First of all, I was terrified to do Black Girls Rock. And not necessarily to do it, because I always wanted to do it. I had written on my wall like a year before. I was like, I'm gonna do Black Girls Rock this year, like a part of my vision board. And I knew Beverly Bond for some years. We had done some smaller events together, and I worked with like her summer camp, the Black Girls Lead Summer Camp, which I thoroughly enjoyed doing, like mentorship and camps for younger girls. But the show was different because, see, I'm used to when I'm on stage, we could vamp out for a long time. If you let the spirit take over, listen, let the spirit gonna do what it's gonna do. And
Right.
that 3-minute song can end up being 6-7 minutes. We have a reprise, we get to shout, we break it down, we build it back up. And with TV, you have to be very specific about the time. So you gotta let the spirit move, but not too much spirit. You gotta have a conversation with spirit ahead of time. Listen, spirit. We have 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Don't mess this up for me, spirit. I've been waiting a long time to get on primetime TV, spirit. and it's like I was super dressed up. Shout out to Dapper Dan. He made me an incredible outfit. I had my earpiece in. It was like, smoke coming up and the screen was rising. And I was like having a little panic attack backstage. I was like, oh, this is a lot. Oh, this is a lot. And I had to just remind myself, I'm so grateful that I was doing a song that was about something that is so dear to me. And I was doing a song I wrote for Sandra Bland. And I just was like, Moo is bigger than you. It's not about, because I was like, I'm a little pigeon toed. So I was like worried about walking pigeon toed when when the screen came up. I was like, straighten your legs out. Got these ghetto pigeon toed bow legs, girl. Straighten up and walk right. Yeah, but I was like, you listen, this is bigger than me. I took it outside myself. I said a prayer and I called my grandmother's spirit. I just said, help me to communicate this in a way that's going to connect people to Sandra Bland's story, that's going to inspire them to go out and do their own activism work. So then, I took myself out of it and then I was able to just deliver it. And we get right in 3 minutes and 13 seconds. And it was great, but it was, I was happy when it was over because I was so nervous and anxious, beforehand. I hadn't, I've done thousands and thousands of shows I've been on stage since I was 4 years old, but I had never done, like that kind of TV. I'd done like news and yeah, I think, maybe we had done something on MTV Unplugged before, but I hadn't done like, BET, like an award show, like that type of, so it was a big deal. And it was like, I love Beverly so much and what she's doing for Black women. So it just was so fulfilling to be able to, and oh my God, Angela Bassett was there. She hugged me and was like, oh my God, you're phenomenal. And I was like, just about to faint in her arms. Like, what? Yeah, it was a really incredible experience. And I just had to not let the like little girl in me
Right.
just lose it. NPR was way more, it's in an office building. So it's
Okay.
very relaxed, very low key. There's no lighting. It's not even any amplification. Like the mic, you hear it later on when they mix it, but it just sounds like you're talking out into, like I'm speaking right now.
Wow.
So it's not very overproduced at all. Very natural feeling. I mean, I think I was definitely a little nervous to do my own tiny desk because of the impact of the first one. The first one went viral, and it added a level of pressure
Right.
to follow up, because I didn't have any pressure the first time. I did the same thing. I wrote tiny desk on my wall like around October, maybe November of 2017. And by February 2018, they asked me to come on Tiny Desk. I said, come on now, write it down, make it happen. And because those are the things that were important to me, right? I could have written down, I don't know, billboard of whatever, but Tiny Desk was important to me because I love NPR, you know? I love Democracy Now! Like, I've told you I'm a nerd. I'm into that. So that's my billboard awards, right? So I was just, so the first one was very natural. You know, my son was there. I was like in between two errands I had to run, ran up in there, spit the verse, you know, put my son back in the car, went to go run the rest of my errands. And, but then it went viral, and the second was like, uh-oh, pressure. Let me do good. They expecting something now.
Yeah. I I know we're coming up on our hour, and I don't want to not ask this question. I know today is the day that in Louisville, there, I don't know if it's, I don't watch the news often, but I do try to make sure I'm staying aware. But
Yeah.
I know today is the day that there's supposed to be some news about the indictment, or some type of charges to be brought up. You know, in the case of Breonna Taylor, and I was listening to say her name earlier as well. And I wanted to know from you, what can we, and when I say we, I mean me as a Black man and the community in general, what can we do to be more supportive for Black women in general?
You know, and I think that's a personal question.
Gotcha.
Because again, remember I said we look out to what Black heroic characters and figures can we edify, as opposed to taking care of the one that's in our family, the one that's in our home. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you see that all the time. You'll lift somebody else up that you don't know, but you won't lift up the woman you sleep next to. You know what I mean? The little girl you brought into this world. Like, I just think that's so important. And I think working on your own personal healing, because I feel like I've attracted a lot of men in my circle who whose moms just didn't really take care of them, and they got a lot of bones to pick with Black women, you know, without understanding those Black women's conditioning as well. None of us are free from the conditioning of slavery, and people think it happened a long time ago, but when you study genetics in animals, how it only takes like 2 generations to create a trait that now affects the rest of the generations, a trauma that becomes reproduced, right? A woman has her eggs in her uterus when she's born. So her everything she experiences before she actually gives birth, that trauma is already in that baby.
Wow.
So the amount of time that it will take to really undo that trauma and unlearn those things to heal ancestral karmic wounds. You know I've seen myself respond in ways that I don't have experiences to justify those triggers, but my mother does, but my grandmother does, my great-grandmother does. So why do I have those? Except that they were passed down to me. And how do I heal those, you know, before I pass them down to the next generation? So I just think, it's just really important to work on healing those traumas and having understanding for those generations ahead of us, you know. I have this conversation with my mom, you know, all the time, and I'm grateful that my mom is a person who wants to grow and to, you know, but my mother's from Mississippi, right? When we got beatings as kids, you got beat like a slave. You got beat with switches that wrapped around your body, weeping willow trees and things you had to go pick off. And you get what I'm saying? Like those are slavery practices, right? Because you had to make sure your kids didn't do the wrong thing, because the wrong thing could kill them. So you had to hurt them bad enough where somebody else wouldn't hurt them and actually kill them. But you break something inside of them, you know, and mothers break their children all the time. Fathers break their children too, but mothers normally are the ones, especially in single parent home, you are overworked, underpaid, right? You are responsible for the loving and the harsh discipline, and normally we don't get enough love, and you get more harsh discipline, right? Because life is hard.
Yeah.
Life gets hard, and so having understanding for those things, and healing those wounds within yourself before you make someone else pay for those things your mother couldn't give you. I just think that's so important, because this time, this era that we're in, right? Everybody real loose with the lip on social media. It's brought out so many of people's traumas, and in the way that they speak about Black women in a very generalized way. It only lets me know, like, wow, your mom didn't give you what you needed, but maybe she didn't have it to give, and we got to start that conversation and that sort of healing, because you're not, anything else you want to give to another woman is going to be surface. It's going to be very surface if we can't heal that, if we can't find understanding for her. If you can't find understanding for your father the same way, and I'm grateful to still have my parents here, and me and my father very close. But also, my dad was an addict coming up in Baltimore, and he did the best that he could. But I also have to realize that my father integrated a school in the 6th grade and was arrested for fighting in school. That's his first bit. After that, you up the river. Now you doing bit after bit after bit. And now my grandmother, like, you can't live in our house and not go to school. But he can't go to school because he got to fight. And once he fight, he going back to jail. There, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now he's living on the street in a cemetery. My father spent years in the cemeteries of 12 and 13, 14-year-old. That changes those incidents.
Yep.
Right? Great. Ooh, we got integration. But what about the people who was forced to integrate and deal with being spit on and beat up and called nigga every single day just to be able to learn? How are you supposed to learn?
Yep.
How are you supposed to learn? And you're living out on the street, So now, before he 21, he had a rap sheet so long, you can't vote, you can't get a job. What else are you supposed to do but sell drugs?
That's it.
What else are you supposed to do? And now you become a kingpin. And now what do you teach your sons? What to sell drugs? Yeah. It makes sense, right? It's a family business, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't come from that environment, you think it's a choice, but you don't really see how the layup happens, how the setup happens. You don't see how that happens. And if you are put in those same set of circumstances, most people they ain't got enough discipline to keep a diet, let alone not hustle to take care of your family. You know what I mean? To have enough discipline to say, okay, this is my only option, but let me try and go out here and search and see if there's anything else that could be available. I ain't never seen it, but let me see if I can search, right? So
hey, I was like, I ain't finna say nothing. We going down together. I'm like, I saw the timer. The timer was like 3, 2. I was like preparing myself like,
I'm sorry. I love that. See, you a ride or die. I love that.
All day. See, you got a chance to eat some of your little spaghetti-os. See over there eating spaghetti?
It's a little curry Indian dish.
Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you jumping back on. I was like, man, I really want to keep going, but I hadn't said anything prior to. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And as you can see, people are jumping back in. I just thought it was so poignant because I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't spoken to my sister in probably like 3 months.
Mm-hmm. And it'd be like that.
And
those
like
relationships hard.
Growing up with my, and I know you have brothers too. So it's like growing up with my sister. She's younger than I am, and I was the protector,
mm-hmm.
but I was also the enforcer. You know mm-hmm. what I'm saying? My brother was the kind, gentle one. I was the muscle. You know, so we got into it a lot. And I'm thinking I'm preparing her in some type of way to deal with the world, and it caused some damage in our relationship.
Yeah,
we go through these ebbs and flows where we don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that's going on, you want your relationships with those around you to be strong. So it just really struck with me when I'm asking you a question about building up Black women, and I'm estranged from my sister
mm-hmm.
right now. So
it be like that. It's real, but I mean, and that is the work, because I have a rack of sisters, and it's the same thing. We go, we have to do our work, and there are times when it's like, ooh, You doing a lot right now. You full of drama. I'm gonna have to take a little break, but I'm gonna come back. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take a little break. But if you need me, you can still call me. Not for the BS, but if you need me for
Right.
real,
Exactly.
I'm not down to ride if you slashing dudes' tires, but I'm down to, you know. But I'm telling you, like that is the work, and not like being okay if they never appreciate it, right? Because it ain't really for us, you know. That's not what unconditional love is about, and the work in order for you to work on yourself, right? It ain't about how they respond. Like sometimes they may never get it, they may never appreciate it, and that's their journey. That's not your journey, you know. And I know a big part for me was like how to set loving boundaries, right? I need to set a boundary so you don't abuse me, but I need to love you through this too because I know you need me. I know my nieces and my nephews need me, you know. And that is that's tricky work, but it strengthens you. It really does. It strengthens your resolve when you gotta be like, oh, this hurt, this a little,
Yeah.
oh, this hurt right now. What you saying? What you doing? This hurts. But who do I have to become for this not to hurt? You know what I mean? For me to be able to love you more than I need to nurse my wound. And why am I wounded? Because a lot of times, you know, triggers, they're not even things that are happening right now. You're being triggered about something that happened a long time ago. And if you really look back and analyze it, maybe it didn't happen the way you feel like it happened, you know? But when that wound is in there, it don't matter how it happened, that wound in there. And
Yeah.
we end up just responding to that wound. Anytime somebody touch it, you know, we ready to wild out over it. And that's the healing work, is how do we actually really close that wound so that when your brother or your sister tries to trigger you, because they know your triggers,
Yeah.
it don't work anymore because you've healed that part already. And it's just like you just touch my, you know, it's just like I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
I
You
think for
know.
me, it was like a situation where, you know, you grow up and I was always the antagonist of the family. So she
Okay.
always had a bone to pick with me because I had
uh
done so much stuff, you know what I
mhm.
mean? And she came to Atlanta with her little man friend, whatever it
Mhm.
was.
Mhm.
And she found herself in my city and didn't call me
Mhm.
and didn't say I'm
Yeah.
here and didn't want to visit me, and I that's like her
Yeah.
biggest trigger. So part of it was me being hurt, but the
Yeah.
other part of it was me wanting to exercise a sense of control and a power over our relationship, because
Mm.
now I'm the one who can own the pain and I
Mm.
can use it against her to be the one in control and have a
Mm.
reason to not speak or whatever. So I definitely have some growing to do as it relates to that, but you know, and I'm appreciative of our conversation
Yeah,
because
that's amazing that you even identifying. You like
yeah,
you got
yeah,
it.
yeah. Before now, I was just on my square, like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Until you apologize, I don't have nothing to say to you, period. You know, but that doesn't really do anything. I have a nephew, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like there's way more damage to be done by not, you know, being the big brother. This is an opportunity for
Yeah.
me to be a big brother for real. You know what I'm
Especially with the
saying?
children, like the children, they need, you know, your aunts and your uncles, they always going to provide something different than the parents will ever be able to provide. You know, they are going to be a different source of comfort. They're going to learn from you in a different way. You know, so yeah, that's important, especially if she has a son. Like being able to watch you and to learn from you, like those. I mean, those community structures, man. It makes me sad that, you know, our villages aren't the way that they used to be,
Yeah.
you know, because those structures are important. They're infrastructural. They're not like take it or leave it. You could have it or not have it. Like, you notice the difference in how we grow when we don't have those villages.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
measurable difference for sure.
Well, I wanted to thank you
Absolutely. Thank you for
for rocking
having
with me.
me.
Shout out to Tiff, Sweet Locks for hooking us up.
Yes. I don't know if
Uh,
she was in the chat or not.
she was there. I did say what's up to her earlier. I'll definitely be reaching out afterwards, but I really appreciate the conversation, the comments. And I
Absolutely.
know a lot of people have been chiming in. Just keeping it all the way 1000% is something that artists don't do. You know,
Mm.
a lot of them are bound by a particular code of silence that they've accepted because of the infrastructure that they're involved in as it relates to a label or something like that. And there's really
Yeah.
a lot of
Isn't that,
power.
and
Listen,
that's so criminal.
listen,
Like, cause we're, that's like our main purpose, you know,
yeah,
is like to tell the truth, to express the things that other people can't express. Toni Morrison said, give voice, artists give voice to the voiceless. Like, and for labels to take your voice is like that. That's criminal. That's criminal to me.
yeah. I want to give the last word to you, to
Hmm.
the people that are out there who have been tuning in and rocking with us. If you have anything coming up or any words of wisdom or anything like that, it's all you.
Yeah, the next thing I have coming up is I'm doing a boot camp. It's going to be the 16th, 17th, and 18th. I'm getting it all together right now for October. Trying to make sure we get it, done before election week. Cause
Right.
boy, I just
Listen.
whatever. It's
Yeah. Listen.
that's
Hey,
going,
all
you
I
know.
got to say is I got my conceal and carry in the mail yesterday. That's all I got to say. Woo!
I bet, right? It just feels crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it
it just
does.
feel like I don't know, just like a wild time to be alive. But I'm working on a boot camp, and it is about entrepreneurship and about our independent music, about the future of Black culture, of Black ownership, so many of the topics that have been so prevalent. Salon Remy is going to be on the panel, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Rants from 1500 to Nothing, 3D
Yes.
Nati, Linnell Grant from Tobin and Wigway's camp, his producer. Um, it's a long list. Actually, it really is a long list. KJ Rose, performance hype coach, Queen Cora.
Yeah.
Um, it's a long list of folks, but we're going to be having panels, one-on-one conversations, and we're having classes. Oh, Kokai. Kokai is going to be teaching a licensing class. We're doing a digital marketing and distribution for independent artists class. We're doing a vision boarding class. It's so many great classes that my lawyer is going to come on and teach again. My booking agent is teaching about booking and performance contracts, all of those things. So, we want to get artists ready for this 2021 season. Okay, be prepared for your new season and just knowing how to navigate because the future is very uncertain. But one thing that we do know is that we're survivors. That we know how to make something out of nothing because we've had to do it so many times, when they wouldn't let us in, they wouldn't let us in the
Yeah.
door. So, we carved out a little window and jumped through. So we're courageous, we're creative and innovative. So that's what we're going to be talking about and teaching, so that people have something tangible that they're taking away from the boot camp with them. And the website for that is mooniversitystudies.com. I'll put it in here, Mooniversity Studies. And tickets will go on sale this week. Um, and then I'm just in the studio trying to studies.com. I'm in the studio trying to finish up. I have multiple projects at the same time. And I'm really also trying to honor my feelings right now because my feelings have been all over the place. Being an empath, right? You just picking up everything imaginable. And so I'm just trying to create and hone in on what I'm feeling, just where we are, just a lot to take in. So I'm trying to be gentle with myself in my creative process and not crack the whip too much because these are unprecedented times, and there's a lot to take in, a lot to process, to be able to create from. But yeah, just be on the lookout. I always got something cracking, something coming.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you sincerely. I would love to create some magic with you.
Let's do it. I heard
Um,
you riffing when it first came up. I was like, oh, what's that? What's that? What you playing?
Sweet.
Right.
I
Love it.
got you. And again, thank you once again for rocking with me. I'm gonna grab some of the mini gems you dropped. People
Okay.
was just like, all these gems. So I'm gonna grab some of the gems and put them up, you know, a little bit later on
Okay.
this evening. But again, thank you
No problem.
sincerely
Thank you so much.
for rocking with me. I got Raheem on Thursday. I know you all
Oh, nice. Yeah, I
collaborated.
love Raheem. I've known
So,
Raheem since I was maybe 14.
oh my
Yeah, we go
God,
way back.
yeah. That's what's up. Yeah. So thank you again. This is my 40th
Okay.
episode. I'm super
Woo, woo,
excited
woo, woo.
that you just
I
made it. You
love it.
just
Congratulations.
exploded it. Thank you. And I'll be reaching out soon.
Absolutely. I love
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
No
Peace,
problem.
y'all.
All right.